Welcome everybody to another live session on my page. Today I am at Jacobs University Bremen with Professor Alexander Lerchel, Professor of Biology, and I'm still waiting for the number of views to actually increase, as you can see here.
Right.
Now the first thing that we need to do is confirm that the sound quality is good enough and that people can actually hear us clearly. So we will wait for some of the comments to confirm this.
Okay.
Today we are going to discuss some important research projects about neuroscience, which Professor Alexander himself has conducted at Jacobs University Bremen. We will also be answering your questions, so feel free to ask your questions and we will take a look at them. Let me see here on my computer so that I can take full view over all the questions that will be asked. So this is us live, as you can see here. All right, so Professor Alexander, thank you so much for being
You're
with
welcome.
us today.
Yes.
We are really happy to have connecting people
Yes.
to scientists directly, something that I always wanted to do, and I
Right.
think that this feature is something that's going to help me, and you are the first one whom I'm going to test this
Okay.
with.
So like I'm a guinea pig, right?
So the first question that I wanted to ask you myself before the people is, what are the research projects that you have conducted at the university? And let's put it at the simplest way possible that everybody can understand.
Okay. Everybody can understand my research projects because I'm interested at the moment in the possible potential harmful effects of electromagnetic fields from mobile phones on our health. So everyone has a mobile phone, everyone makes WhatsApp, video conferences, whatever. And many people are concerned that these electromagnetic fields, some people say radiation, harm our heads, our brains, may lead us to feel dizzy or whatnot, sleeping problems. And we are doing this research at Jacobs University since many years, actually, to see whether there are biological effects both with respect to cancer development as well as with respect to some neurofunctions like memory and so on. And this I'm doing since like 15 years here at Jacobs University. Before, I have done also this kind of research. And so far, with one exception, we did not find any harmful effects, at least in mice and rats.
So you didn't find any harmful effects for electromagnetic radiation that's released from cell phones
Right.
in progression of cancer in the brain, or so you say you look into different types of cancer. I mean, normally what people would think, say, all right, we take the cell phone closer to our brains, so they would think that the first thing that is going to be cause is brain cancer. So how can it reach to other areas as well, trigger some other forms of cancer?
That's a very good question. But as you know, there is not only one cancer, but we have different cancers which originate, for example, from a primary tumor. So there may be a primary tumor, and then cells are released, which then settle at different places in the body and cause secondary cancers, metastasis. So this is one way. The other way is that sometimes people believe that the mere exposure to electromagnetic fields from base stations is enough to cause cancer. But this hasn't been shown to be true so far because the radiation levels are too low by all standards.
We have a very good question here from Ravil, I guess. He's asking electromagnetic radiation or transmission. So, is there a difference?
No, electromagnetic fields is a more common word. Transmission is just the way how you transmit data or speech or whatever. So this is basically the same.
What is the primary tumor? Let's choose some of the questions from our audience. The questions are going so fast. Is it true that when your cell phone is in your pocket, causes the sperm count? This is a little.
That's a very good question. It refers to a study which was recently published, and the scientists were pretty astonished about the study results, but I have to say, first of all, the study is not really good in terms of scientific standards. And the other thing is, if you wear a cell phone in your pocket, it doesn't transmit anything because it's.
But if you are receiving a call or a message,
right. But first of all, if you just keep it in your pocket, it doesn't send. It doesn't transmit any data. It doesn't expose your testicles, for example, to electromagnetic fields, because it also has to save the energy from the battery. So there is little, if any, exposure. Of course, if you receive a call or if you make a telephone call while having the mobile phone in the pocket, that would expose some body parts to electromagnetic fields. But still, then the question is whether it is able to harm sperm counts. And so far, the answer is no. And we also have done a multi-generation study in mice, 4 generations involving thousands of animals, and we were unable to find any negative effects of exposure. And we looked for testicles, we looked for numbers of sperm.
So you looked at different areas?
Yes.
In order to see if these radiations can actually cause any effect?
Yeah.
And you didn't find
anything. So this is also in accordance with most of the studies which have been published so far, thousands of studies, which the vast majority has shown no effects. And it makes sense because the so-called quantum energy of those electromagnetic fields is too low to cause any chemical change or damage of a tissue.
This is interesting. So he say, let's talk about smartphones. Let's pick up some other interesting questions from here. They say here, cancer is genetic, period.
No. This is not true because also we know, of course, that lung cancer, for example, is caused by tobacco smoking or by asbestos or God knows what chemicals. And of course, there has to be a genetic predisposition, or it helps to get cancer, so to say. But of course, pollution like chemicals or asbestos or other substances can induce cancer, which is long for many years. Also, for example, ionizing radiation like X-rays can do this. But unlike X-rays, electromagnetic fields from mobile phones are non-ionizing, meaning that they cannot break chemical bonds, which is a fundamental difference.
So they are weak.
They are weak,
to cause this kind of effect.
The only effect we can see is that we have sometimes heating effects. That's why it's a good idea not to put the cat into the microwave oven because it may eventually die. But this is thermal effects, right?
We were getting to that question that somebody actually asked was what about microwaves?
Microwaves.
I think I read somewhere that is it possible that the food that was also exposed to microwave that would have some effect or something? I don't understand if this is. I saw somebody made a note on that.
Right. There have been some investigations claiming that there are chemical changes of food when you expose food or substances like this to microwaves. This has not been shown to be true, and it would also be not really rational to assume that this happens. The only effect is the thermal effect, that you heat the substances or the animals or the food or whatever. And that should be limited. So if you use a cell phone, there are certain limits set by laws. They should not be exceeded. And the only limitation or the rational ground for these guidelines is that you have thermal effects, that you should prevent to heat your brain, which would not be a good idea. But maybe some people assume that the radiation which is emitted by a mobile phone indeed heats your tissue, because you keep your mobile phone here, you make a telephone call even only for a few minutes, and then you feel that your ear is feeling hot.
Yeah.
And the reason for this is not the radiation, it is the fact that you shield your ear from radiating away heat, which is a normal function, plus a mobile phone, when in use, produces some heat because it's in use.
So there is contribution between the natural process and the artificial one here, in this case, which causes this heat.
Yes, but the artificial one caused by the electromagnetic fields is so minor it can almost not be measured.
This is very interesting. Let's see if... so we've got some other questions. What about Wi-Fi?
Yeah, Wi-Fi is in our houses, and we are exposed to it when we make different internet connections. But we have to know that the transmission energy or the levels which we are exposed to are quite low. So, for example, if you go outside the house, there is no Wi-Fi connection anymore because you are too far away. it's on the order of 10 milliwatts. But if you use your cell phone under adverse conditions, for example, if the next base station is away, your mobile phone will send up to a level of 2 watts per kilogram, or 2 watts in peak, and that is a lot more. So as illogical as it may sound, it's better to have, for example, more base stations in the vicinity than compared to the situation where the next base station is 400 meters away, because then your cell phone has to send with maximum energy.
Oh, this is very interesting. Let's move to your next topic. It's memory. And I think a lot of people are going to ask a lot of questions about memory. So is there also something related to cancer, cell phones, and memory?
Yeah, there are two also concerns with regard to the brain function. So if you expose yourself to electromagnetic fields, many people say, okay, we have a high voltage of the cell phone, and this may cause changes in the brain function because the nerves work at very low voltages, like 70 millivolts or so. But this also has been shown not to affect the cells. We have done also experiments with mice and rats, have exposed them in the head only with quite high levels, and then made some experiments like memory function. They had to orient themselves in a maze to learn the way. We have used a water maze, so also that they swim around and have to find a plate which is hidden, and a so-called rotor rod to check for motor coordination. And in no case we found any significant differences between the exposed animals and those which were sham exposed, which is also in agreement with studies in humans showing that there is no detrimental effects of electromagnetic fields from cell phones.
On memories?
On memories, yes.
This is very interesting.
And
Now
also maybe, sorry if I may just add this, this is also interesting to note. If we have a nerve cell, which is very small, and the membrane is very thin, and even if we have only a voltage difference like 70 millivolts across the membrane, the potential difference or the field strength is enormous. It's like 1 million volts per meter in our brain. Our brain is an extremely exciting apparatus.
So there is a protective shield.
Yeah, it's a memory. It's a protective shield shielding every nerve cell, and this is very hard to disturb or even to destroy. Therefore, it's quite hard to disturb it or to break it by mobile phones. It's impossible.
Interesting. Now, there is one question that I just saw. It's probably unrelated. Why do we forget some memories, and how can we strengthen our memory?
Okay. It's all about exercise.
Exercise?
Yes. We have to work with our brain continuously to keep it busy.
Okay.
If we don't do that, this big computer in our head forgets things. And so this is also known for people who have already developed some Alzheimer or any other neurodegenerative form of disease. They can slow down the process if they keep their brain busy. And we can actually prevent this.
We can prevent?
Not totally, but we can prevent the onset of the clinical signs of Alzheimer if we keep our brain busy.
By exercising?
By exercising, by doing.
Do you mean mental exercises or physical exercises?
Both, but the mental exercises are more important. And
mental exercises.
Yes, and also this is the explanation why educated people with a high school degree or with a university degree, they have a lower incidence of getting Alzheimer or neurodegenerative diseases, because even if some parts of the brain are damaged, others can take over, which is very interesting.
Wow, that's very interesting.
So keep your brain busy, guys.
This is cool. Keep your brain busy and solve as many puzzles as you can. Now let's move to the next one. It's sleep disorders.
Yes.
All right. What was your project on sleep disorders?
There is a hormone or a substance like a hormone called melatonin. And this melatonin is actually synthesized in the middle of our brain. It's a very small organ, which is called the pineal gland, because it looks like a pine.
Okay.
And it synthesizes this hormone, melatonin, which is a very small hormone.
A small hormone.
And it has many interesting features. One of them is that it regulates our sleep-wake cycle. So during the night, it increases, and during the day, it is zero. It's low. It's not measurable. And this increase in melatonin tells the body or the brain to go to sleep. And during aging, the melatonin synthesis levels decline, so that we have less melatonin in elderly people, sometimes earlier, even in 20 to 30-year-old persons, we have low melatonin levels due to genetic predispositions. But then, once checked, this melatonin can be substituted.
Mm-hmm.
It is an almost non-toxic substance. In some countries, it is an over-the-counter drug. You can buy it without a prescription. And this melatonin helps our body to fall to sleep continuously, and to have a high-quality sleep.
Mm-hmm.
There are some differences in the preparations. There are some good preparations and some bad preparations, but all of them help you to go to sleep. And some of them are able even to increase the total sleep time. And this is one interesting thing. And in animals, I'm interested also in the effects of melatonin on the reproductive system, because melatonin not only is high during the night, but it's also high or higher for longer periods of time during winter. And this makes some animals to go into a winter puberty or winter depression of the reproductive system.
Now let's choose some of the questions here and answer some of them. What if sleep is like another form of memory? Is that possible? Sometimes when you
sometimes when you dream, right?
So sometimes when you dream of a memory, and that's going so fast, it's hard to catch up with. So is it possible that this could happen?
Our brain is not non-active during the night. Sleep or dreams especially are a very active process.
Active process.
A very active process.
So your brain is busy.
Yeah, our brain is
recording
busy, yes.
the actions of the day.
Yes.
During your sleep.
Sorting these actions into ones which have to be memorized and sorting out most of the other things. So 99% of the information we receive during a day are lost because they are totally unimportant. And the rest is important. So this is what happens during dreams. It's called also the rapid eye movement, REM sleep phase.
Mm-hmm. REM sleep.
Yes, when you see someone sleeping and the eyes are moving, then the dream is at maximum, and people actually experience things without being awake. And this is so important that if you prevent people from sleeping for, let's say, 3 days, this can be lethal. They can die. It's not yet understood what sleep is good for, but we need it definitely.
We definitely need it.
Yes, and therefore also melatonin.
It's the most needed thing, you know.
Right. Yes.
There was a question that just passed. It says, it brings us back to the previous topic about cell phone or mobile towers.
Right.
Living next to cell phone towers or power lines.
Right. So this is the base stations are regarded by the World Health Organization as non-dangerous for your health.
Mm-hmm.
There has been a report in 2011, I think, that cell phones may be associated with certain forms of brain cancer, but the base stations are not regarded as any source of radiation which may be harmful for us.
Mm-hmm.
There is currently a discussion about the potential harmful effects of high voltage power lines, because they generate magnetic fields at frequencies of 50 or 60 hertz, so much lower than with mobile phones. And there have been many studies showing that childhood leukemia is actually shown to be increased in people who are exposed to such magnetic fields at a field strength of about 0.4 micro Tesla, which is the definition of these fields, And this has been shown quite a number of times, but you have to be really, really, really close to such a high
to be exposed
at these levels
to have such effect. There are people asking about stress, anxiety, and sleep, and this relationship between them.
Right.
I mean, what's the best thing that you could do, or you would say the thing that is valid to improve the quality of your sleep?
Yes, it's very important to know that the sleep hormone, or it's also called the hormone of the dark, melatonin, is suppressed by light. So the worst thing people can do is to expose themselves to light during the night.
Okay.
So I don't mean that you completely turn off your light when you go to the bathroom, but at least have a dimmed light that your eye is not exposed to full bright light, because that will definitely break down your melatonin, and then you have the same problem the next night because your brain memorizes what happens the previous night. So light exposure during the night is absolutely a no-go. Then, on the other hand, expose yourself to bright light in the morning. This is the best way to reset your endogenous clock, your biological clock. Thereby, your system is, as we say, entrained, and that means that it's the best way to say, hello, now this is a day.
Yeah.
So
set up the clock
right
in your mind. Some people are asking about something lucid dreaming.
Right.
What is that, and how can we?
Yeah, lucid dreaming is a very active form of sleep. It is also not is poorly understood, and yes, some drugs, including melatonin, have been shown also to be involved in this kind of dreams, in this kind of quality of dreams. Although the mechanism is not known, so that's also an interesting field of research, I would say.
There was a study which mentioned, I mean, there are two interesting studies that I want to mention here. One study mentioned that the sleeping position improves your quality of sleep, reduces the nightmare. I think it was to the right position, And there was another study which also mentioned that if you want to restore the balance of day and night and the circadian rhythm, that you go in camping trip and stay away from all electronics.
Right.
So if we could discuss these two studies briefly.
Yeah, with the sleeping position, I'm not sure about the right or the left side. I have never heard about this, and
I saw it recently, and I went through it.
It may have to do with the circulation. So if you lie on a certain side, the heart is not as busy as if you lie on the other side. The circulation may be affected.
Yeah.
Or the lungs may be compressed, and therefore, especially for overweight people, it may be a problem to lay on a certain side. But the other thing is with the go-to camping, that's a very good idea, because if you expose yourself to natural photo periods and maybe also temperatures, that is something people really rarely experience nowadays, because we have artificial light exposure, we have artificial heating, we very rarely go outside to have a walk, I mean many people, and therefore to go out to have the exposure to natural conditions, it's fantastic.
So we need to reconnect to nature, and
we have to reconnect to nature, and that's also a good way to
restore the balance, and
it's all about balance. Right.
Exactly. But if you look, in Germany here, the time changes and the cycle is not static.
Right.
This is one of the problems. Where I come from, it's fixed. It's like 12, or a 12th day, daylight and to. But here you you get exposed to a new environment. Right. It's very stressful, I have to tell you. It took time to adapt.
I can imagine. And there have been studies, for example, in researchers who are spending the entire year at the South Pole, where there is, of course, a pretty long day and a pretty long night, but nothing more. And this is very, very interesting, and it's also stressful. I can see, yes.
Sleepwalk. This is a very interesting thing. Somebody just mentioned sleepwalk.
Yeah, it's almost like being awake.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's not... So, normally during sleep, your body movement is suppressed.
Okay.
It has to do with the so-called basal ganglia in your brain. They are totally switched off normally. But in those people who have sleepwalk, this doesn't work. And they sleep, they don't realize that they walk around and talk to people. I have also children who did this. It's very scary. But yeah, it's sometimes dangerous because they don't realize that they are in danger.
So they can, walk through any way or any.
Yeah, or my son, he was lying on the ground and started to swim.
Wow, that is scary and horrifying.
Yes.
Let's see. So sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis is kind of the opposite. It is the like paralysis of the muscles, and this is of course not very healthy as well, because then you can't move and you need a lot of time to recover from this situation, which sometimes is also life-threatening. Yes.
So both are.
Yeah,
terrible.
both. No, yeah.
Somebody wants to know about déjà vu. I mean, we're not discussing this here, but Maybe we can just
Yeah,
point it
déjà
out.
vu is interesting because the experience is that we think we have experienced the situation exactly
Hmm.
like before, like
Yeah,
years or
yeah.
days or weeks before.
Is there a scientific explanation?
Yeah, our brain just misinterprets the situation.
But it's like, you know, recalculating or bringing an old memory that it might.
Yes, okay, there's a trigger always. There's a trigger which switches off or on the experience. Okay, I've seen this before, but the brain sort of makes a wrong timing.
Wrong timing.
Wrong timing. It is setting back the clock to a time before, and this is why we experience or why we think this has happened before. It's very
Interesting.
strange.
So the brain formulates fake memories, we could
Yeah,
say?
yeah. We are always tricked by the brain. The brain is a wonderful machine, but it tells us many things about reality which are not true.
That is definitely not a good thing. um,
Yeah, just have to know it.
somebody mentioned, I guess, talking during sleep.
Talking during sleep.
Is there any neuroscientific explanation?
Yeah, it's also.
I mean, I have also heard some people talking during
Yeah,
sleep. and-
I can also tell you this is very scary. When you sleep and somebody close to you starts to speak, sometimes in a different language. Even.
Amazing. Even if
Amazing.
they don't know the language.
Yeah, it's scary, and yeah, I've experienced this also. Very scary. Also, kind of a wake state, and again, a sign for the brain going wild, doing things which we cannot understand yet. But for some reason, there must be a mechanism which is necessary to sort things and to.
Anybody is working on that?
Yeah, there are many dream forces researchers. Not so many because you can imagine they have to work during the night. But
That's a PhD position that I wouldn't
Yes.
accept. Let's move to your last topic. It's the birth rate.
Right.
You mentioned in one of your studies that birthday rate, I think it was just exclusive to Germany, declined on Sundays. What is the reason?
But this is a worldwide phenomenon.
A worldwide
Yes,
phenomenon.
we have studied not only Germany but also Switzerland, and I've also studied other countries in the Northern Europe area. It's a worldwide phenomenon, saying that or showing that the numbers of Sunday babies decreases and Saturday babies. And you have to know that Sunday babies, especially, are believed to be prone for having luck.
Interesting.
So it's not lucky to have fewer Sunday babies, and the reason is, by the way, the difference is really high. It's like plus minus 20%, and so the reason is that the hospitals where most babies are born are not fully equipped and not full during weekends.
Okay.
And therefore, the physicians don't like to have babies born during weekends.
So it's the problem of the physicians, not the people.
No, there was also an investigation here in Bremen, actually in Germany, and the mothers were asked whether they had the intention to have a baby born by artificial means, for example, induction of birth or cesarean section, and like 90% didn't want that when they came into the hospital, meaning that they were convinced by the physicians that it might be better to get the baby born by cesarean section or by induction. And so it is actually the physicians who tell the woman it's better to have the baby born on a weekday. And it also has cost reasons, so like 35% of the babies born in Germany are born by cesarean section,
Oh.
and it's much more expensive.
I think also the physicians want some assistance in case something goes wrong.
Yes.
On Sunday, you don't have a lot of personnel, and if something goes wrong, you would feel responsible.
Yes.
Since these doctors have a lot of ethics.
Right.
Most of them.
Yeah, but it's right. But it's like, as we say, the cat is biting in her tail because there must be a reason for this.
Uh-huh.
And yes, you can say the physicians want to be on the safe side.
Okay.
But the question is whether this is really necessary, because a birth is not by any means a risk for the life of the mother and the baby.
Yeah.
It's only the case in a few percent of the pregnancies. And the WHO, for example, the World Health Organization, recommends that a maximum of 10% of birth is done by cesarean section because it's needed. And we have here a cesarean section rate in Germany of about 35%, which is much too much. And it's also true for other countries.
Interesting. Now let's get back to some questions about sleep before we finish this live stream. And also questions about the brain. Somebody was asking, and this is very common, do we use 10% of our brain?
No, we mean...
And let's please clear this, because I know a lot of people, I meet a lot of people, and they just bring this into the discussions, and we need to just clarify to our audience.
Well, I would not exclude that some people work on 10% of their brain.
Some people do, huh?
Yes. But normally, most of the brain, I would say like 50% is used. Sometimes it's confused with special people, for example, those who have autism.
Okay.
They have a totally different way how they use the brain. For example, some of them, they have a capacity to draw pictures of cities which they have seen once for a few minutes only. Is a picture, and they have a picture memory, and they can memorize and can draw pictures precisely to the street corner of this city.
How can they do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We don't know. And on the other hand,
that's something I would like to have.
Yeah, it's totally interesting. And on the other hand, they are very hampered. They cannot talk to you. They are living in their closed environment, right? So they have they have a shift in the capacities in the brain. We don't know the mechanism yet, and we would like to know them, of course.
Now, the last question that we will choose here is, actually two questions. One is insomnia, which somebody is talking about here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, insomnia very often has a reason of reduced melatonin.
Reduced melatonin. So if we bring it to balance, we might have it.
By the way, also when we fly over time zones, like from the US to wherever, Japan or vice versa, we confuse our biological clock. We have a jet lag of sometimes 8 hours or so, or sometimes more. And here also melatonin helps a lot because it resets our biological clock. It's a wonderful mechanism without any side effects. And insomnia, yes, especially in elderly people, is quite common and is associated with low melatonin levels. So if you replace your melatonin with certain drugs, then you can help yourself having better sleep and overcoming insomnia.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, because insomnia is also characterized by the thing that you are very tired during the day. Why is it so? Because people who cannot sleep during the night go to the bathroom, expose themselves to light, bring down the melatonin, and this is a vicious circle.
So this is the reason when you go to the bathroom.
Yes.
All right, you're exposed to the light.
Yes.
Then you have a hard time sleeping again.
Again, and the next day you have the same problem. And this is a vicious circle, right?
Okay. Should we have more questions? Let's have one last question again here. We have got this question. What does prevent the REM sleep? Because we say REM sleep is a very important stage of sleep.
Oh, yes.
So what kind of, habit, that is daily habit or injury or something that can prevent it from happening?
At least it can be tremendously shortened by traumas. So people who have experienced horrible things in their life, immediately when the brain starts to memorize it, they wake up.
Okay.
Or they are shocked or whatever, and the brain doesn't want to be to memorize these horrible things. This prevents REM sleep.
This is interesting. So it's like a traumatic experience.
Yeah. It's like a brain injury, if you will.
Yeah. Especially if it happened in the childhood or...
Yeah, and also stress. If you are under constant stress, then it also reduces the REM phases in the sleep. Because there are some mechanisms like cortisol or other hormones are then increased and so on. So this is a known mechanism.
This is very interesting. Okay, so that's it for our today's live stream. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Right.
Special thanks to our guest, Professor Alexander from Jacobs University Bremen. Really exciting and amazing discussion. I'm sure everybody enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. The questions were very exciting. Thank you very much, guys.
Very exciting. I'm looking to more questions from them in the future live streams, which will also be about physics, astronomy, chemistry, with different scientists from different fields.
Oh, okay. Good luck.
Thank you so much. So we'll see you next time, and have a great time, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.